This is Perth right now. People are literally sleeping outside of a sales office to secure a block of land. Is this something that you are willing to do? This is a crazy reality of Perth right now. Releases are small, and when they do come about, there's over 400 people that are lining up ready to take these blocks. Do you have a system? Do you have a plan? And are you ready and prepared to actually get a block of land and do what it takes to secure one? Like the 9 people that are currently sleeping outside. It is Wednesday, by the way. The release isn't until Saturday. So that's a lot of time sleeping outside. So this is actually one of the last times that Pete are going to be running their releases in this way. Sadly, already changed it to an online auction. A lot of the other companies have already changed it to EOI only. So this is probably one of the last times we'll see this in WA. Land developers, they don't sort of like it because it shows they're not releasing enough blocks of land. The government don't like it because it shows they're not releasing enough blocks of land. And the more that people do this, hopefully it puts a little bit of pressure on land developers actually releasing larger parcels of land and more frequently. But up until the point that this actually happens, you know, this is a reality. Now, at the WA Building Guide, if you don't want to sleep outside, I actually have a proven system that can help you get your own block of land. It does involve a little bit of work, but it is inside the WA Building Guide. So the link down below, I can show you how that all works, and we can even have a 5-minute, 10-minute chat on how you too can get your own block of land. It is not impossible at the moment. People think it might be impossible, but it's not always impossible. As long as you have a system and a plan in place, you can get it. Now, talking about that though, do I think that the market is incredibly overstretched at the moment? Well, yes, it is. And the sad reality of it is people can't really get the areas that they want, the sizes they want, the houses they want because of the demand. So demand outweighs production 400 to 1. And I'm not joking when I say that. Every time there is a release, if you want one block of land, there's 400 other people that also want that block of land. The days where I could be friends with a land developer and get my clients blocks of land, that doesn't really happen all that well at the moment because a lot of them have that lottery system. There are a couple ones that still do, you know, give fall over block, but you've got to be in the industry for a long time to actually get those. So, to recap, I love the dedication that these guys have. I think it's awesome. I am sad that it has got to this stage though. But honestly, it's not the first time that this has happened. Like, I remember when Scarborough was releasing lots of land, that it was very similar. And believe it or not, Scarborough, I think, was sold in pounds, which is crazy. And there were big lots of land. So for the guys here, a lot of them, they're gonna be using the toilet around the side. They've got power and the sales agents turned off the light, which is nice. So at least they can sleep tonight. And a lot of them will take it in shifts. So they'll get to go home, they'll get to enjoy life. But I find it pretty fascinating. If you've enjoyed this video, I didn't want to show any of those guys. We did talk to them earlier, but I didn't really want to put them on, you know, display because I wouldn't particularly want to be on display at 11 o'clock at night after having a couple of beers and I was sleeping on an air mattress. But I do love the dedication that they brought to the show. So, you know, I hope, well, all of them will get a block. So the sales agents have actually come out already and said, okay, you get this block, you get this block, you get this block, you get this block. They've all got their finance sorted. They've all well and truly prepared for this moment and have come in advance. Apart from the last guy we spoke to, he was actually just coming down to see this, and then all of a sudden his wife was like, nah, you got to stay there. So poor guy came just from work, he's got nothing, and he's gonna be brought a sleeping bag, air mattress, and you know, he'll be quite comfortable. But one of the guys there, he's no headphones, he's just reading a book, he's just drinking a beer, he's loving life, and he'll get that block of land. So look, that was Burns Beach. I didn't want to interview any of the people that were physically sleeping outside because I don't know if I would want to be interviewed, but they did give me quite a lot of useful information. You know, why they're actually wanting those blocks of land, why they're willing to spend, you know, so much time waiting outside. These blocks of land, they're not cheap blocks of land. Most of them had an 8 in front of them, and there's only 9 blocks available. When I saw this was actually happening on the news, I was a little bit shocked. I was like, wow, a lot of my clients that we're all struggling to find blocks of land at the moment. And I then started thinking, you know what, if I wasn't even in this journey forgetting everything I knew about real estate and about land and about opportunities. And I was just working. I would see that and I would be freaking out. I would be looking at my lease thinking, I'm stuck in this lease forever. Like, you know, if people are camping outside, I can't take 3 days off work to get a block of land. Like, you know, I can't afford $800,000 for a block of land. And I'd be thinking, God, is this it for me? Like, am I ever going to not have rental inspections? Am I ever going to get to paint a block? Am I ever going to get to paint a wall the color I want it to? What happens when I have children? You know, am I going to be painting a crib and not be able to paint the room? That was actually one of the main things that got me to move from New South Wales to WA. I was priced out of the New South Wales market. Me and my wife at the time, it was 2020. 2020 was obviously a very bad year for me because of COVID and what I do. And I remember I was on the balcony painting my son's crib, and I looked at the crib after I'd set it all up, and after I set the room up, and I was thinking, I would love to paint this wall. And I couldn't do it because obviously you're not allowed to paint walls when you rent a house. And that's when I started looking. It took 3 years of looking in New South Wales. We looked all the way from the Sunshine Coast. We looked all the way down in Wollongong. We looked inland. We looked everywhere to try and find a house that was suitable. And I know what it's like when you're going through houses, and this is in Sydney, you know, we'd have 90 people running through a house that, you know, would end up going, you know, at the time it was only $60,000, $80,000 over the asking, which back then I thought was crazy. Not like the market it is now where it's going $100,000, $200,000 over asking. But I remember being so deflated, looking at so many horrible existing homes as well that just weren't even fit for what we were looking for. We were looking for a home to like raise a son, and it wasn't going to happen in New South Wales. We were priced out of the market, and we had to leave all of our friends, all of our network, and move all the way to WA, where we were able to secure and get our first house, which we bought sight unseen, which I spent 9 weeks renovating, making look good, making it so I could go and collect my wife and Charlie, my son, so they could live in this house and we could see it for the first time. And I remember getting the keys and being like, this is it, this is ours. And we owned it, and we had security. And that was the main thing. It gave us security. It gave us the opportunity to generate equity. You know, it gave us the opportunity to really live and, you know, not just survive another rental inspection. So I understand why these people are sleeping outside. You know, I understand why people are picking lots of land up in Two Rocks when they're, you know, 60 minutes away from work. I understand why people are going to Whitby when they're further away from their work. You know, I moved 5 days drive away from where I worked at the time. And we do the things that make sense at the time. And a lot of people, I think at the moment, they might not be able to, you know, truly understand what it takes and, you know, what is involved. And that's really why I created the WA Building Guide. I do believe for a lot of people that buying a new home and buying a block of land and building a new house is much better than buying an existing house. Obvious reasons such as stamp duty being a big one of them. It makes more sense for people, and people can get into the market sooner. And here's the thing, once you're in the market, once you actually have your very first house, you are in the market. So while the price might be going up and up and up, you might be looking at, you know, that going up. It's okay because you've locked in your equity now. Like at the point that you buy a house or you sign your land contract and you sign the PPA, you've locked in that price. So every time it goes up, you are now building equity. And that was November, depending on when you're watching this, November 2025 to January 2026. The house price in WA has increased over $130,000. So for all my clients that sign land contracts in November, they've built massive equity and they've secured their spot in the market. So now for all of them that have that, all these price rises, they're not your enemy anymore. They're your friend. Like you're seeing that and you're thinking, great, I'm making money, I'm building equity, I'm doing the things that I need to do. They might not have picked the perfect house. They might not have picked their perfect block, but what they have done is they've picked the right choice for now. And that's where I want to sort of finish off this video. When we're in a market like this, when it is very hard to actually, you know, get blocks of land, when it's very hard to you know, build, you have to sometimes make sacrifices. But I can guarantee you categorically, there is not a single person that has an existing house or has gone through the process of building a house right now that wishes they waited. Every single one of them, every single person I know that owns property at the moment, they are happy they bought when they bought. Whether they bought in 2020, whether they bought in 1988, whether they bought in 2024, every single one of them are happy they bought. Leigh, WA Building Guide, over and out.